Welcome to Expert Resources. I'm Chris, and today's guest is the guy business owners call when they realize they've accidentally hired themselves as the world's most overworked employee. Louis Swart is the founder of Ironbridge, where he helps coaches and business owners escape the chaos by using AI, virtual assistants, and systems that actually work. He's built multiple businesses, managed hundreds of staff, and now spends his time helping others stop doing $10 tasks with $1,000 brains. Louis, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Chris. Such a pleasure to be here, madam. I'm really looking forward to this.
Yeah, and so am I, because what I want to pick your brains about more than anything else today is branding. So what we're looking at is a lot of our speakers and a lot of people in this community, I mean, there's quite a variance. So some have got a brand and they're building on that brand with their speaking, and some are right at the beginning and they are speaking to build their brand. They don't really have a brand as such. They have some expertise, but they need to let more people know about it. And so it's great from my point of view, get on stage, talk to a lot of people at one time. It increases the number of leads you get, all that sort of thing.
Mine I come up with and they go, wow, this guy's brand, his colors are uniform across his Facebook, his LinkedIn, his Instagram, his TikTok. It's all got uniform colors. His message is uniform. It's easy for them to access my resources to promote me on their event. Really, it's not much of a competition. It doesn't matter how amazing the other guys are talking. They're going to look at the back end. So that's why brand is super important.
Yeah, and that resonates a lot with me, because obviously with the TEDx, we are really trying to get a lifetime of expertise and squash it into a 15-minute talk that isn't about educating the people on everything you know, because you're not going to teach everything you know in 15 minutes, but you're going to get their curiosity engaged. You're going to get their intrigue, and you're going to get them on board and go, wow, I didn't know this was a thing. I want to learn it. Yes. I want to learn more, right? Yeah. So that's the reason. That's sort of my, how I would approach a TEDx talk if I was talking to anybody about doing one. That's what you want, is to get somebody on board, get them interested. All the extra stuff that you can educate, you do that later. First, you've got to ignite their curiosity, wind up their wonder, get them going. Yeah. So one of the things that a lot of the TEDx speakers are doing is doing the TEDx talk so that it can enhance their brand. Now, going through, sort of adding on to what you've just said there, if you've got a really lame, let's call it a lame LinkedIn profile, and you add a TEDx talk to it, it's better. It's better. Much better. It's still not there. Like, you still want to do more. So you still want to have a brand with it. But have you got any ideas, Louis, on how you can really use a TEDx talk? If you've got it, it's on TED.com or on the TEDx or TED.com YouTube channel, whichever one it turns up on. How can they best utilize that in their brand? How can you use that?
I think you would use it everywhere you possibly could. Literally, I mean, it's a business card. I can say, hey, I'm great at something, or I can say, I'm that good that TEDx has put me on there, and they've decided that I can, that they've decided that they're going to use my presentation, which is an incredible business card. So, you'd put it on your background, you'd put it on your email signature, you'd put it on all of your socials. You'd be doing posts on the TEDx talk for a long time. So, you could do like posts on your TEDx talk now, and then you could do posts on sections of your TEDx talk. In a year's time, you could say, hey, I appeared on this TEDx talk and this is what I learned from it. Or when I did my TEDx talk, these were the other people that I was talking to, and this is what I learned from them. There's so much credibility that you can get from it. And nowadays, we're really looking for credibility, because there's so many people out there telling you what they can do. I always use the example, if you think about, like, you're in a busy shopping center, and probably maybe not an Australian shopping center because they're quite quiet, but I mean, imagine like Imagine like, you're in Bangkok or something, and there's like, everybody's like, shouting and doing their thing, and somebody shouts, "Hey," from the other side. You're literally not going to even listen to them. You can just keep doing your thing. You're not going to turn around and go, "Oh, who's that guy? Why is he saying?" Because everybody's kind of shouting. But if somebody shouts, "Hey, podcast guy," you probably will turn and go, "Hang on, who's this? Who's this?" Because I'm interested in that. And even if he's not looking for me, he's looking for somebody who's got a podcast. So somebody who's like me. And that'd probably be a good guy to just go and have a chat to and talk about podcasts, And so that's what we got to do on socials. We want to kind of be calling out, but we really need to stand out in the crowd. And one way to do that is obviously have really strong hooks, but another way is to have really strong credibility. And the TEDx talk just completely adds to that credibility. Just gives you that extra level of credibility, specifically as a speaker. It shows that you were able to condense your talk into 15 minutes, which I think is a phenomenal feat.
It's a lot of work, I can tell you. For starters, it's a lot of work. No, that's great. That's a great use of it. And for TEDx Ruakura, we tried to get some of the speakers together and say, let's start working on what you do after you get your TEDx talk up, because we weren't doing that as an organization, particularly TEDx Ruakura. Our focus was on the live event. We had a community. It was a big event, took us a lot of organizing. So our focus was more on that than even the videos. And I look back and our videos weren't as good as they possibly could be for some of the years. Now I'm with TEDx University of Waikato, no expenses spared, and the videos are spectacular. And that's sort of why I look back and go, "Oh yeah, we weren't that good back then." But anyway, so you want to make sure that you take advantage of your video afterwards. You don't want to leave it to the event to drive your views or things like that, because in our case back then, our event, we were starting thinking the next one. We're not worried about your videos and how many views it got. As an organization, we weren't. TEDx University of Waikato, a bit different, because they see that as advertising their research program, because they're all academics. So they do some marketing for you, which is, in my experience, unusual for a lot of the TEDx's. So it does depend on the event that you're speaking at. But you should absolutely take advantage of it. Put it in your LinkedIn profile page. Put it in all your profile pages wherever. If you've got a website, it should be there, or at least linked there, but ideally embedded in there. And everybody should know that you've done a TEDx talk.
Absolutely.
But, going further than that, a bunch of our audience aren't that fussed about TEDx, but they do a lot of pitching for business. So startup founders, startups, that sort of thing. What do you think are some of the fundamental mistakes that somebody starting a startup make in terms of their early branding before they're getting, when they're first seeking investment and all that sort of stuff?
We tell them how it's going to work. We tell them all the process, and we go, "Hey, I want to go to New Zealand." And you say, "Oh, Louis, it's no problem. I can organize it for you. You're going to have to get a car, and then, you're going to have to get a car to pick you up, and you need to pack your clothes the day before, and pack some warm clothes and pack some cold clothes. And then you're going to have to drive to the airport, and then you're going to have to find somewhere to park your car at the airport, and then get on the plane, and then you're going to have that terrible plane food on the way. And then, by the time you've explained me getting to New Zealand, I'm like thinking, there's no way I want to do this trip anymore." Whereas if I say I want to come to New Zealand, and you say, "Louis, you're going to love it. The mountains are just phenomenal, and the view, every corner, you just want to take another photo, and the people are, the most amazing people." I'm going to be like, "Wow, I want to get there." And what a lot of us do is we describe that journey. We like, "And you're going to have to do this, and I'm going to do this, and then you're going to do that, and then there's this part, and there's that." And most people don't care about that. They want to know about the destination. Where are we going? How are we going to feel when we get there? What's that going to look like? And so we want to know what the outcome is. What's going to be the outcome? And I had a call the other day, and the lady literally, I said to her, just give me in a couple of words what you do. And she spent 10 minutes. And at the end of the 10 minutes, I literally was like, I am sorry, but I've got no idea what you do. I said, you've spoken about neuroplasticity, and you've spoken about all the, what do you actually do? And so I think that's a big mistake that we make, is we kind of try and explain how the whole and most people don't really care how the concept's going to work.
Yeah. Just adding to that, from my experience, a great way of looking at it is you're in business as a startup, and you're delivering a solution. What's that transformation you're giving that customer? If you can explain the transformation, they're in this state at the beginning, and life's crap or whatever, and at the end it's like this, and it's amazing. You don't have to tell them how they get there. You just have to tell them they start here, they end up here. It's amazing. That's how you get the customer, but it's also the story you have to tell the investor, and then you've got to tell the company story as well to an investor. But you need to tell that client story to both. And it's a transformation. You talk about the transformation you're making, not the nuts and bolts of what you're doing to get there. Absolutely.
Yeah. I've got a friend, and he's amazing. He does architectural drawing, but he can draw he can do sketches. And he's got a program. It's $25,000. He teaches you how to do it, and it's phenomenal. He's an incredible guy. And he said to me, Lou, the one thing he learned was the more vague he is, the more people buy. This is where you are, and this is what I'm going to teach you to draw. And it's like, I want that. Give it to me. As opposed to, I'm going to show you how to do this, and then angles, and I'm going to da-da-da-da. He said, and you lose people along the way, because all they want is you go to the gym, and it's like, I want to look like buffet. I don't want to know that I got to go on all those machines. And let's face it, most of us probably won't even go on all the machines. We probably go once or twice, have the gym membership on our keys, and go I feel fitter already. And
yeah, I'm paying for it. Those muscles are in there.
True. But we buy the outcome. We buy the outcome. We buy the dream. That's what we're buying. And we buy the dream in everything in our lives.
So let's take away from our advice here, because we're not selling anything right now. And what does it take to get that profile together? Because I'll be honest, my podcast partner, Sam, so I've got a podcast, the Chris and Sam podcast, and he gives me crap because one of my very first business cards I ever made, I made the mistake of showing him, I created with MS Paint back in the day. This was a long time ago.
Oh, yes.
I don't know I think it was the late 90s actually. And I thought it was great. And he thinks it's the absolute worst thing he's ever seen in his entire life. And he's probably right. Okay. So I am, branding wise, I'm a little challenged. Now I did get a little help with my branding on my LinkedIn and stuff now, and everything's looking pretty together. But that's the problem, right? Is that what I thought was good or good enough wasn't great. Okay. So how do you get good? I, in the end, got somebody to help me out, but what are some of the tips you can give somebody starting out to go, oh my God, I've got to put a brand together because my stuff is all over the place, but I don't know where to start?
Look, by all means, not taking away from branding people. So I've got a friend, his name's Igor, amazing guy, and he will do your whole brand for you, and it'll cost you a couple of grand. But he's devoted his life to doing that. On the other hand, do somewhere I just kind of put the brand together for you. I kind of do it so I can get you started. And most people, the brand that I give them is going to get them to the next level. It's not going to get you to Coca-Cola, but it's going to get you to the next level. And so what I'll do is I've got a branding guideline that I'll share with your community. And literally just think about the first thing you need to do, Chris, is think about who your audience is. So, are your audience male or female, first of all? Because if they're female, they're gonna like different colors to what males like. Okay. There's some colors like brown is universally, people don't like it, just so you know. Like it's universally, no, it's universally. True. But it's universally taken as as being a cheap brand. So UPS is brown because it's a cheap brand.
Right.
So they've gone, okay, people want a cheap delivery service. We're going to have brown as that cheap delivery service. So if you look at all the different brands, the color actually means stuff in the brands. Now, stuff like blue, like I've got the dark blue, and the dark blue appeals to men, but then it doesn't appeal to women. So women like blue, but they like the lighter shades of blue, and they like more like a purple. Okay. They like more pastel colors. So as they get older, they like younger women and younger men like brighter colors, but they like brighter colors, but females like more pastel bright colors when they're younger, and males like more darker bright colors when they're younger. Then as we get older, we like more toned, and like less toned down, not as bright. But again, males like them more like a solid kind of strong solid color, whereas females like a more pastel color. And I mean, I'm not saying everybody, it's just we're going to generalize, but as a general rule, that's kind of what you're doing. So if your brand is aimed at women, and you've got a dark blue, okay, they will still like it, but they won't like it as much as if you actually aim the color at a color that is appealing to the bulk of women. Then that would make them more likely to actually like that color.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. And like I when I think about that, so the first thing that pops in my mind is all the gyms, and you can tell which is a women's gym and which is women's only gyms and mixed gyms. You can tell without ever reading them, just from a distance with the colors. Like you can just tell. 99% out of 100 times. So absolutely right. And I will admit, I didn't even think about that in terms of the colors when I was picking the brand that I've got here on the screen for mine. I wasn't thinking about the client as such. I just wanted to get a couple of complementary colors that I could consistently use.
Yeah.
So that's interesting for me as well. Now,
but the same goes with your fonts, just so you know. The same goes with your font. Like your font, there's more masculine and more feminine fonts. So there's a whole lot of stuff like that you've got to think about. Like your logo, does your logo portray? What does your logo portray? And then I think even more important than the colors, I think it was Jeff Bezos who said that your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. Yeah. So that's really what it is, So like it's good to have all the colors and everything, but what's that underlying thing when people talk about?
Because that's what your reputation really is, and your brand is your reputation, and your reputation is what people say about you, not what you say about you. So otherwise, we all have sterling reputations. But that's a really good point. So. Now, I know, like, today's world, I don't know the answer to this question. I don't know the answer you're going to give me, so I'm throwing this out here. This is right out there. In today's world, it's like, well, you can just get AI to create me a brand. So I'm going to ask you about that, because I had a little bit of a conversation with somebody, comments and stuff on LinkedIn today with a really good speaker coach that I know I've met before. We know each other for a few years, and she's excellent and very, very successful speaker coach, I should say. And she made the comment of this new AI they're using to help speakers, and I'm like, oh, okay, how are you doing that? And she broke it down, and basically asks you a bunch of questions, and it gives you a few things to work towards in your talk. It doesn't write it for you, which is perfect. Like, that makes sense. And the reason I say that is because the last TEDx University of Waikato, one of the engineering guys decided to get AI to write his speech for him.
Okay.
which went about as well as you can imagine. So we had a bit of cleaning up to do. We had to, knock that into shape. So what I'm trying to say is there is a way to use AI well, and it will help you, but that way is generally not do it for me. And I'm imagining it's the same with the brand. So do you want to talk us through what AI can and can't do in terms of helping your brand?
Absolutely. Have you ever asked ChatGPT to tell it what it knows about you?
No, although I think my friend did that. He was showing me something early on. This was quite a while ago, like a few years ago. And he goes, oh, you can just go to AI and tell me all about Chris on the internet or something. And I was quite surprised at the time. Yeah.
So it will be able to tell you, it knows about you. So it can tell you about yourself. And so you can say, tell me what you know about me. So if you go into ChatGPT and just say, tell me what you know about me. Okay. And then you'll see that it comes back with a whole array of things that it knows about you, right? And it'll tell you like kind of your tone that you normally talk in, a whole lot of things like that. And then you can take that, because that's literally what it's going to share with other people. Now, with the guy who did his own talk, you probably find that GPT didn't know too much about him. Okay, the more it knows about you. So if you pretty much just go on your phone and you click the microphone and you walk around and you say, hey, this is who I am, this is who my family is, this is my favorite kid, this is what my values are, and this is what I like doing, this is what I don't like doing, this is the kind of stuff I talk about. And then you ask it a question, you can imagine it's going to give you a way different answer. Okay.
Yeah.
So I teach AI, and I did a class, and I said, okay, so what I want to do is we're all going to write a story about Little Red Riding. We're going to go just on, and I just use ChatGPT. It doesn't matter which version what thing you're using, but so I was showing ChatGPT at the time, and I said, okay, we're all going to go on there. We're going to write a story about we're going to ask ChatGPT to tell us the story of Little Red Riding Hood. Okay. And remember that it doesn't know if we 8 or 108. Right? It doesn't know anything about us. So before we do that, we're going to say, you're going to exaggerate what you like or don't like. Okay. So for example, you're going to say, I love unicorns and fairies. And I love when the prince rides off into the sunset. I love that. Can you please tell me a story about Little Red Riding Hood? Right. And then it would write up the story. And then the next person, I want you to say, I love horror movies, like Saw, and they've got the guy chained there and he's got basically gnaw off his own leg to get out of there. And there's,
I know that guy.
Some monster around the corner, waiting to get him. That's what I love. Can you write me the Little Red Riding Hood story? And you can imagine the stories that came up, all right? Because ChatGPT went, okay, so you want Little Red Riding Hood to be super gory, or you want it to be super fairy, like there's a unicorn suddenly in Little Red Riding Hood, But that's literally what we do. So we just say, tell me a story about Little Red Riding Hood. And we go, this doesn't sound like my personality at all. But it's because it doesn't really know your personality yet. But it's getting so much better, so much faster. So you can now do things like on the new GPT that's come out in version 7, you can literally go in and say, I'd like you to create me a brand. This is the feel that I'd like. This is my audience. This is the message that I'm trying to get across, and it will create you like some really, really cool brands, some really cool logos. And
I used to tell people, get it to ask you questions, but nowadays I don't think you need to say that, because it asks you automatically now. Back in the day it didn't, and you used to prompt it to say, ask me questions, fill in the gaps or whatever. But that's so much better now. So that's a great tip, is to make sure that the model you're using, whether it's ChatGPT or Claude or whatever, make sure it knows you first and have that bit of relationship about what you're trying to accomplish with your brand. Perfect.
And then secondly, I do this thing where I help people to create 6 months worth of content in 1 hour. So I work with them for 1 hour and I create 6 months worth of content. And you would take stuff like, so let's say, for example, you did a TED Talk. You would then take your TED Talk and you'd put it into something like Opus Clip, and it would break it down into shorts. And it would take 30 second to 1 minute shorts, and it would tell you what's got the highest chance of virality and what's got the lowest chance of going viral. And you could then put those on your socials for the next couple of months. With this one that I do, we actually go into ChatGPT, but we spend an hour, or half an hour of that is working out who your avatar is. Who are you actually trying to target? Who are you trying to talk to? What are their pain points? What are their fears, frustrations? Like, we really, really go into those. So, not just like, oh, I want more leads. I'm a business, or I'm a coach and I want more customers. That's awesome. But you don't wake up at 2:00 in the morning going, oh, I want more customers. You wake up in the morning going, man, I need to make some cash, otherwise I'm not going to be able to pay the mortgage, and they're going to kick me out of my house. Like, if I don't make money and get my wife that diamond ring, like, I know it's over. What are those, on a serious note, what are those things that you wake up in the morning going, oh, you know what, I might have to go back and get a job, because I want to be a speaker, but I'm kind of not making any money. If I don't make any money, I'm going to have to go back and get a job. And then if I go back and get a job, like, I'm going to look like a bit of a fool, hey, because I told everybody at work, hey, see you later, I'm going to become a speaker. And now it's not kind of working, and now I'm going to have to go back and get a job. When we can get down to that level of your fear, and we can talk to that level in our socials, or even in our talk, that's a deep level, because that's a level that we don't normally go to. We don't normally go to that level of, hey, I'm going to go back, I'm going to look like a fool, I'm going to look like an embarrassment. And, it might even relate back to when I was a kid and I stood up in front of the class and everybody laughed and, thing. So if we can get to those levels of vulnerability, it makes it so much more impactful, our socials and our talk. But that just allows us.
Yeah, I was just going to interrupt for a second there, because I just want to expand on that, because you're absolutely right. Vulnerability is one of the hardest things to do. It's a hard thing to talk about, because you don't feel, it's scary being vulnerable and coming across vulnerable. But that's what connects us as people. And the reason it connects is because we've all had those thoughts. All of us have had that experience to one degree or another of standing up and looking like a fool. Like, we all have, and some of it got over it better than others and all that sort of thing. But that's what makes us connect, and that's where that brand sort of thing really works. Is it's all about connection. Having said that, what I think we really want to do is make sure that when you do that sort of thing, you're really clear about that level. and you don't want to overshare. You don't want to go too far down that track. But it really does make all the difference to do that. And the other thing is, and I think this is a mistake, and you can tell me whether you think it's a mistake, because you're the branding expert. But I think I see a lot of people branding themselves as if they're talking, as if their client is a corporation. And they're talking corporate speak, they're talking to a corporation. But I believe corporates are made of real people, and it's Absolutely. The people in there that make the decisions. It's not a corporate entity that's making the decision on bringing you in as a guest speaker. It's the people in that job, and whether they're going to look good to their boss for having brought you into this event, or that sort of thing. Am I on the right track there? What do you think?
Absolutely. So they generally say, if you're creating content, try and create it so that a 10-year-old could understand it. Because lots of times we're in industry, and I mean, I'm in the coaching industry, and we talk about, people have got limiting beliefs and they've got this, and we'll just do a reframe, and we use all this language. And when you're talking to another coach, they kind of done the same program and they sort of understand what you're talking about. And then when you're talking to a client and you're talking about, well, I just do all these things, the client's got no idea what you're talking about, but you actually lose them in the process. Because, I actually sold a business. I sold a business when I was 30. I sold a business for 5 million, and there was 5 Scientologists that bought it. Okay. And I'm neither here nor there, but these guys, some of the stuff that they had was amazing. And one of the things that really stood out to me was every single word, they would actually stop and go, what does that word mean? Right? And they teach adults how to read. So they would get adults and they put them all in a classroom. They give you a book, and literally you'd be reading, and then you'd start scratching your head or yawning or wiggling in your chair. And then the instructor would come and say, just stop for a second. And then he'd go back and he'd say, what does that word mean? 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 And there'd be a word that you didn't understand. Guaranteed. In the last couple of words, there'd be a word that you didn't understand. Because if you ever read a book, you've been reading a book, and then you get to like a page and you're like, I got no idea. Hey, I mean, I'm reading, I've got the lines, but I've somewhere along the line, I've completely lost the story. My brain is still reading, but the rest of me is just kind of switched off.
Yeah.
Stop and go back, and you'll see that there's a word that you don't understand. All right. Because what happens is that our brain, if we're reading, we read, they were going along, and then they felt very conspicuous, and then they did this, and you don't know what conspicuous is, right? So now your body keeps reading, but your brain's going conspicuous. Where does that fit in? How does conspicuous work? What other word is it like? And it's doing all this stuff. That's what your brain's trying to do. It's trying to work out, where do I file conspicuous, right? Imagine a little guy running around. He's like, what do I do with this? Where does it go? And so it's not picking up any of the other stuff, but the rest of your body is just going, we're just going to carry on reading, man, and like, you got to catch up sometime. And it's the same as that when we talk. So when we talk and we use terminology that people don't understand, their brain actually switches off, because they're trying to work out, like, what does that term mean? And like if I said to you about reframing, you'd be like, reframing, like, what's he framing? Like picture frames, like what frames is he talking about? Like,
I talk about this a lot, actually. I've got my own name for it. I call it a speed bump. So when you hit one of these words that people don't know, you keep talking and they're going, I wonder what that means. And by the time they've caught up, they've left the road and they've skipped a bit. And if you do 1 or 2 of those in a talk, you could probably get away with it. But if you're doing it too many times, they finish the talk and they've missed half of it because they've been trying to figure it out. And also, like the example I use all the time for TEDx is we had, because when you're doing a TEDx talk, you've basically got 2 audiences. You've got the audience in the room, which is usually in your local community, probably, but you've got the global audience. And so we had Linda was doing a talk on, her talk was around HR. And one of the things she said in rehearsal, she said, after Pike River, everything changed. Now, everybody in that room knew what she meant, and everybody that would have been in that room in the event would have known what she meant. But everybody in the global audience they would have stopped at that point. That's a speed bump, and they'd be going, Pike River, what the hell's Pike River? Now, so all we had to do was change a little bit. It was after the Pike River mining disaster, everything changed. And that was enough context for the global audience. Didn't really slow down her talk or anything. Yeah. But it resolved that speed bump.
Wow.
Yeah. So perfect example of, you want to make sure that your audience is keeping up with what you're saying. And absolutely. Using jargon's usually the case, but also being culturally aware of the words I use here in New Zealand don't always translate even across to Australia. Most of them do, but some of them, are a bit different. And you don't want to see me in a thong, is all I'm saying. Whereas I know over there, it's something you put on your feet.
True. Oh, goodness. Yeah, so, one thing that I'm playing with at the moment is on our socials. We now have the opportunity to share concepts that we maybe didn't share before. Okay, and I'll give you an example. So do you know, Chris, that you only going to live about 4,000 weeks? That's in an 80-year life.
Horrible thought, but okay, cool.
You're going to live about 4,000 weeks. So I don't know how old you are, but you've probably lived about 2,000 weeks. You've probably already spent about 2,000 weeks. So you've probably only got about 2,000 weeks left. So it's 250 summers, 250 winters, 250. So literally, this is the limit of your life. You know, in the last, we know that most people, the last couple of, the last 500 to 1,000 weeks are kind of slowed up a little bit. Okay. It's a pretty sad topic to talk about. And it's quite direct.
Yep.
But imagine now with AI, and I mean, I can show you examples. I've got me as an alien, okay? You can see it's me, but it's green and he's got like weird fingers, okay? Imagine an alien telling you the same concept, okay? So imagine this, I'm an alien and I'm like, hey, Chris, tell me about, being a human. How long do you guys live for? And you go, oh, we live for 80 years. And I go, 80 years? Man, that's like nothing. It took us longer than that to fuel the spaceship when we were coming here. So like you only live 80 years. I'm like, man, you must have heaps of fun. You must just be like living it up because it's so short, eh? And you go, well, not really, eh? We spend most of our time at work. And you go, whoa, you must love work. Work must just be super exciting. You must just absolutely love it. And actually, it's pretty shit. I don't really like my boss. I don't really like work. Okay. But you see how I'm explaining the same concept to you?
Yeah.
But now it's funny because it's like we're joking about ourselves as humans. So it's not one human like thing about another human. It's like a whole different race. There's that kind of thing. So like I've got a little baby. I've got a baby version of me. He's got a goatee. He's got a goatee as well. I mean, a little baby with a goatee. But, and he can talk about like it from a young person's perspective. So it's super simple, super easy to understand. And then I'm working with a lady now and she's got support animals and she's going to get the animals to talk about how, they use, you can use like a dog, for example. You can get a dog as an emotional pet for your anxiety. But this will be the dog talking. So the dog will be saying, oh, when I see mum's like super anxious and then I just want to jump on her lap, but because I'm in the cafe, I'm not allowed to do it. And if only mum got the certificate, then I could jump on her lap and I could just sit there because I know when I'm sitting on her lap, her heart rate slows and everything gets calmer. That's a much easier thing than me saying, hey, Chris, you know that if you got a dog and the dog did this, it allowed the chance for creativity is just unbelievable.
No. Whole new world of creativity open to you.
Yeah. And we're fortunate in that we've come from a time when we've actually had to have imagination, and we've had this time where we've had imagination. We've had worlds without kind of computers or very rudimentary computers. So this new tool just allows us to take all that previous knowledge and all that previous stuff and then put it into like an incredible new system.
Oh yeah. I grew up with computers. I bought a ZX Spectrum with my paper round money back in the day. So yeah, I've come from all through that sort of range of things, and it's amazing what we can do now. Yeah. But we'll never take away the human creativity. Like, it enhances it. Like,
absolutely,
it's a tool, like any tool. Like a hammer doesn't build a house. The guy holding the hammer builds the house. Yeah. But the hammer's an indispensable tool. And AI is becoming an indispensable tool. You just need to know how to use it right. So what do you do in terms of your ability to help people with either AI or I know also that you help with virtual assistants and things like that. That's maybe a good topic to jump into for a second as well. Where do they fit? Like, what jobs would you give AI and what jobs do you give virtual assistants, and how do you manage all of that?
Very cool question. So I actually did virtual assistants, and I helped coaches and speakers and business owners with virtual assistants. And then AI came in, and I still had my virtual assistant business, but I started really focusing on AI. And initially I was like, man, like all the hype, AI is going to take over. We're going to have AI. We're not going to need any humans. Like, we're just going to use AI. But then very quickly I was like, man, I haven't got the time to actually learn how to use all this AI stuff. Okay.
And it changes so quickly.
Yes. And I'm like, they go like, oh, you can just quickly make a video. Like you can make your video and you just get this and you do that and it made your video. And I'm like, I don't even have the time now to do the things I want to do now, unless still learn how to make the videos, no matter how easy it is. So then I started pivoting with my virtual assistants and I started saying, you need to do this. So you need to learn how to do this thing that they say. So I want you to learn how to edit my videos with AI. And I want you to learn how to create a baby video of me and a koala video and an alien video. And I've got the idea and this is what I want you to do and execute it. And so then my team started just churning all that stuff out using AI. And more we started using AI. So we used AI for stuff like we reach out to podcasts and we reach out to speaking gigs. And we can now go on AI and we can actually look for the speaking gigs. And then we can go, okay, what are they about? And we can get like a summary from ChatGPT to say, well, this person's speaking thing is basically for business people and it's about this specific topic. And then we can tailor our cover letter to sound like that. And then my VA can actually send that out and then follow up that person and then, check in on them, make sure that it's thing, and then book it into my calendar. And then when it comes time for my calendar, my VA will go in and do a meeting. Before this meeting, my VA went in and did a full summary of you. And they used AI. We use AI for that. We just put your name in and the AI comes back and it searches the entire internet for you. And it gives me a full breakdown of everything about you, which allows me to have a better meeting with you. So it's literally a combination of virtual assistants and AI. And lots of speakers and businesses. I either hire somebody 8 hours a day or, they can hire somebody 4 hours a day. But then I found a big section of the market who said, Louis, I'm a speaker and I just need my background changed on my Zoom and I can't get my calendar. When the client's booking, I can't get the calendar to book onto the Zoom. I can't get the right link to go to them and I can't get all these things. And so then I started saying, well, just use my IT guy, just use my go high level person, just use my graphics guys. But then I got to a point where I'm like, okay, now I have to put on a whole lot of new stuff because I'm loaning everybody my people.
Yeah.
So I do a service where they can literally just buy 40 hours. So they buy a bank of 40 hours and they can use my graphics person or they can use my AI person. So they go, hey, I want to have an image of me that looks like a baby, and I want to be able to use that for my socials. They can just log into my AI guys. My AI guys will set it up. Or hey, I just want pictures changed on my website because it looks a bit. Now I've got my TEDx. I've done my TEDx talk, and I want TEDx logos on everywhere. You just get the graphics guys. They do it. It costs a couple of dollars an hour. They put it all over your socials and get that done for you. As opposed to you trying to do that in Canva. Because what you should be doing is working out how you're going to promote that talk and working out how you're going to get the next customers.
Yeah, get the next, because once you've done that TEDx talk, you should always do the same talk again and again wherever you get the opportunity. So you should be working on booking that. And I think one of the best things that you've mentioned that would be a good thing for people to do is get clips of those talks and get those clips for your socials. You don't see that enough. I don't see that enough with the people that have done a TEDx talk, getting those clips and getting them out. So yeah, huge. And if you've got a AI guy, I'm sure would help, or video guy or whatever, will help doing that. So yeah.
Yeah. So the graphics guys would take you could take your clip from yours and you could have you talking into it and then the clip and then, you talking out, or you could just have the clip, or you could have other pictures that were taken on that day, and you could have pictures combined into it to make your talk sound better. Or you could literally even have your talk. You could take the voice out of your talk, and you can create like a blog post just from the voice on your talk. Or you could take the voice from your talk and then you could create an animation thing that you could put into it. Or you could do like a B-roll where you'd have your talk and then you have a B-roll, so you have other little videos coming up that are explaining your concept better. Once you've got the initial content, know, I mean, the sky's the limit with what you can do with it.
I'm finding that. I started a newsletter a couple of years ago, and it didn't, I did it for 60 episodes, 60 issues or whatever.
Wow.
And I just got busy with other things, and it sort of wasn't getting a lot of traction. But I use that all the time. I just go back in there and I get AI to help me. Like I'll say, look at this page, it's on this topic. Give me 3 or 4 things I can post about out of this. And it's so much quicker. And then, I finish off the posts. And once you've got content, you can extrapolate it out so much better. I highly recommend it to anybody. And if you don't know how to do that, well, that's where you talk to Louis probably, honestly. Because it definitely makes it a lot easier. Well, what we'll do is below this, we'll put a link to how people can get hold of you, your website, your socials, whatever it is. You said you were going to give us a little thing they can download.
I've got a whole lot of free gifts to give them, so I'll put the links down below. But I've got 150 things you can delegate. I've got a tech guide, what sort of stuff you gonna need as you're going along. I've got an IT guide to just help you with what kind of things are you doing now and what should you be doing going forward. I've got a post time thing where you can actually work out what have I done the last half an hour, and really work out how you allocating your time. So I'd love to share all that with your listeners.
Perfect. That sounds great. Well, thanks so much for coming along, Louis. I really appreciate having you here. I love talking to people like you that really get it. It's like there are some things that you reinforce, and I'm like, yes, I know that's the case, and I'm glad somebody else is saying that. I'm not mad. I'm not insane. And then there are other things when I'm like, oh, I had never thought of it like that. That's a great perspective. I need to think on that a little more. So you've given me all of that. So thank you very much.
Love it.
We'll be catching up again in the future, no doubt. But for now, thank you very much for being here. And I will let you know how things are going. And this will be on YouTube, and I will be having clips. So you'll see some clips out of that because I'll be doing that.
I love it. I really appreciate you. Really appreciate you, Chris. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, Louis.